of the NPC opening session.
This is the live feed from the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. And right now, the second session of the 13th National People's Congress will start. Chinese top leaders stepped into the venue to attend 2,975 deputies from 35 delegations from all across this country. In a short while, China's Premier Li Keqiang will give his work report on behalf of the government to review the work of the State Council over the past year and also give an outline of China's economic and social development for 2019.
Right, so you just mentioned more than 2,975 deputies from 35 delegations will be attending the conference, and among them, to the 13th NPC, female deputies account for about 25% of the total, and the number has been increasing in recent years. Over half of the deputies were born in the 1960s. They are actually a backbone of China's legislature.
What is special about this year's 2019 marks the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. So the plan, the social and economic development plan for this year has a special significance for this country and the people.
Again, you're now watching our special coverage on CGTN about the opening of the NPC session of 2019.
As usual, the opening session is supposed to be chaired by the NPC chairman, Standing Committee Chairman Li Keqiang. And we understand that China usually delivered on its economic target last year, 6.6%. So everybody is looking at what is the target for China for 2019 will be.
And the NPC is supposed to be answering questions, a lot of questions and challenges China is really now facing.
And when it wraps up, China's Premier Li Keqiang will answer questions from the press at the end of the NPC session this year.
Fellow deputies, the second session of the 13th National People's Congress has a scheduled attendance of 2,995, and today we have actual attendance of 2,948 with 27 not present. And the actual attendance is up to strength in accordance with the law. Now I declare the second session of the 13th National People's Congress of the People's Republic of China is inaugurated. Please all rise up. Sing the national anthem. Please take your seats. Fellow deputies, today we have three agenda. Now let's begin with the first one, to review the report of the work of the government. And now, let's give the floor to Premier Li Keqiang of the State Council to deliver the report. Fellow deputies, now, on behalf of the State Council, I will report to you on the work of the government and ask for your deliberation and approval from the members of CPPCC. First, 2018 in review. The year 2018 was the first year for putting the guiding principles of the 19th National Congress of CPC fully into effect. It was also this government's first to perform in accordance with law the functions of office. In pursuing development this year, China faced a complicated and challenging domestic and international environment of a kind rarely seen in many years, and its economy came under new downward pressure. Under the firm leadership of Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we, the Chinese people of all ethnic groups, guided by Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, forged ahead and overcame difficulties. The year's main targets for economic and social development were accomplished, and in building a moderately prosperous society in all respects, we made major progress toward a decisive victory. The main economic indicators were kept within an appropriate range. GDP grew by 6.6%, exceeding 90 trillion yuan. Economic growth matched electricity consumption, freight transport, and other indicators. Consumer prices rose by 2.1%. In the balance of payments, a basic equilibrium was maintained. A further 13.61 million new urban jobs were added, and the surveyed unemployment rate remained stable at a comparatively low level of around 5%. For a big developing country with a population close to 1.4 billion like ours, attaining relatively full employment is crucial. Economic structure was further improved. Consumption continued to play an increasing role in driving economic growth. The service sector's contribution to growth approached 60%. Growth in high-tech industries and equipment manufacturing outstripped that of other industries. Harvests were again good in agriculture. Energy consumption per unit of GDP fell by 3.1%. The quality and returns of growth continued to improve. New growth drivers grew rapidly. A number of major scientific and technological innovations were made, like Chang'e 4 lunar probe. Emerging industries thrived, and traditional industries saw faster transformation and upgrading. Business startups and innovation continued to surge nationwide, with an average of over 18,000 new businesses opening daily, and the total number of market entities passing the 100 million mark. New growth drivers are now profoundly changing our mode of production and way of life, creating new strands for China's development. New breakthroughs were made in reform and opening up. Institutional reforms of both the State Council and local governments were implemented smoothly. New progress was made in reforming key fields. The negative list system for market access was put fully into effect. Reforms to streamline administration and delegate power, improve regulation, and upgrade services were intensified, and our business environment rose significantly in international rankings. Opening up was expanded on all fronts, and joint efforts to pursue the BRI made significant headway. The first China International Import Expo was quite a success. Work began on building the China-Hainan Pilot Free Trade Zone. China's total volume of trading goods exceeded 30 trillion yuan, and its utilized foreign investment totaled $138.3 billion, ranking China the first among developing nations. The three critical battles got off to a good start. We forestalled and diffused major risks. The macro leverage ratio trended toward a stable level. The financial sector was generally stable. Precision poverty alleviation made significant progress, with the rural poor population reduced by 13.86 million, including 2.8 million people assisted through relocation. Pollution prevention and control was strengthened, and PM 2.5 density continued to fall. Marked achievements were made in ecological conservation. Living standards continued to improve. Per capita disposable personal income grew by 6.5% in real terms. The threshold for individual income tax was raised, and 6 special additional deductions were created. Support for basic elderly care and basic health care was strengthened. Close to 100 million payments were made to assist students from families in financial difficulty, covering all school types. More than 6.2 million housing units were rebuilt in rundown urban areas, and 1.9 million dilapidated rural houses were renovated. Urban and rural living standards continued to rise. We solemnly commemorated the 40th anniversary of reform and opening up, thoroughly reviewed its great achievements and the valuable experience gained in its pursuit, and pledged our resolve to see reform and opening up through in the new era, thus galvanizing the Chinese people of all ethnic groups to continue their hard work to make new historic achievements. Looking back at the past year, we can see that our achievements did not come easily. What we faced was profound change in our external environment, setbacks in economic globalization, challenges to multilateralism, shocks in the international financial market, and especially the China-US economic and trade frictions had an adverse effect on the production and business operations of some companies and on market expectations. What we faced was severe challenges caused by the growing pains of economic transformation, an interfacing of old and new issues, and a combination of cyclical and structural problems brought changes in what was a generally stable economic performance, some of which caused concern. What we faced was a complicated terrain of increasing dilemmas. We had multiple targets to attain, like ensuring stable growth and preventing risks, multiple tasks to complete, like promoting economic and social development, and multiple relationships to handle, like that between short-term and long-term interests. And the difficulty of making policy choices and moving work forward increased markedly. With the concerted efforts of the whole country, the Chinese economy, from a larger base, achieved generally stable growth while making further progress, and social stability was ensured. This once again shows that the Chinese people, under the leadership of the CPC, have the courage, vision, and strength to prevail over any difficulty or obstacle. There is no difficulty that cannot be overcome in China's pursuit of development. Over the past year, we fully implemented all major policies and plans made by the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. We followed the general principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability, and worked holistically to maintain stable growth, advance reform, make structural adjustments, improve living standards, and guard against risks. We handled trade frictions with the U.S. We worked to ensure stable employment, a stable financial sector, stable foreign trade, stable foreign investment and domestic investment, and stable expectations. Our main work of the past year was as follows. First, we developed new ways to improve macro regulation and ensure a generally stable economic performance. Facing new circumstances and developments, we were firm in choosing not to adopt a deluge of strong stimulus policies, and we maintained the continuity and consistency of macro policies. As we conducted regulation to keep main economic indicators within an appropriate range, we also improved targeted and well-timed regulation and carried out anticipatory adjustments and fine-tuning. We continue to pursue a proactive fiscal policy, focusing on cutting taxes and fees, strengthening areas of weakness, promoting structural adjustment, reducing VAT rates, and expanding the coverage of tax relief for small businesses with low profits, and introduced preferential tax policies to encourage R&D and innovation. The tax and fee burden on enterprises and individuals was reduced by around 1.3 trillion yuan. We improved the budgetary spending composition, put idle budgetary funds to use, and ensured spending in key areas. We maintained a prudent monetary policy and encouraged financial support for the real economy. In response to the difficulties and high costs of financing, we reduced required reserve ratios 4 times. and applied a combination of measures to ease funding shortages faced by private enterprises and SMEs. Initial success was thus made in curbing the rising cost of financing. We promptly responded to abnormal fluctuations in the stock and bond markets and kept the RMB exchange rate basically stable. China's foreign exchange reserves were maintained at over $3 trillion. Second, we took solid actions in the three critical battles and made good progress in carrying out key tasks. We drew up and began the systematic implementation of the 3-year action plan for the three critical battles. We made steady progress in structural deleveraging, handled risks in the financial sector prudently and appropriately, prevented and controlled local government debt risks, and reformed and improved mechanisms for conducting regulation over the real estate market. We made further progress in precision poverty alleviation. We strengthened poverty relief capacity, increased budgetary input, and encouraged society to assist poverty alleviation. The self-development capacity of poverty-stricken areas was enhanced. We launched an all-out fight to keep our skies blue, our waters clean, and our land pollution-free. Energy and transportation structures were upgraded. The replacement of coal with natural gas and electricity in North China was advanced. The system of river chiefs and lake chiefs was established. The use of both chemical fertilizers and pesticides was reduced. Inspections and law enforcement for environmental protection were strengthened. Third, we deepened supply-side structural reform and steadily unleashed the dynamism of the real economy. We strengthened our work to cut ineffective supply, foster new growth drivers, and reduce costs in the real economy. We made progress in using market mechanisms to cut capacity in the steel and coal industries and to ensure stable investment. As a result, investment in manufacturing and private investment rebounded. Policies were adopted to stimulate consumer spending. Internet Plus were advanced across the board, and new technologies and models were used to transform traditional industries. We streamlined government functions and cut taxes and fees, and a number of permits were abolished. The reform separating permits from the business license was implemented. The time needed to start up a business was shortened, and the types of industrial production permits were cut by over 1/3. Oversight conducted through the random selection of both inspectors and inspection targets, and the prompt release of results was implemented. We overhauled the charges and fees levied and encouraged a cut in the cost of electricity, broadband services, and logistics. We advanced the Internet Plus Government Services Initiative. The local authorities explored distinctive reform measures, and both businesses and the public now enjoy increasingly better access to government services. Fourth, we continue to implement the innovation-driven development strategy and further increased innovation capacity. We greatly improved the innovation ecosystem to keep innovators of all kinds fully motivated. The reform of the management system for science and technology was deepened. Steps were taken to achieve breakthroughs in core technologies for key fields, and major science and technology infrastructure and innovation centers were being built. We strengthened the principal position of enterprises in innovation and extended the policy on raising the proportion of additional tax-deductible R&D costs to cover all enterprises. We developed policies and measures to support innovation and business startups. The volume of contracted technology transactions grew by over 30%.
Fifth, we intensify reform and opening up and continue to strengthen the momentum of development. We deepen reform of state capital and SOEs, and made new gains in upgrading and restructuring SOEs and improving their quality and performance. In addressing difficulties and issues encountered by private enterprises, we used every means to help them overcome their problems and concerns. We advanced reform of fiscal and tax systems and launched performance-based budget management reform across the country. We reformed the financial regulatory system and improved the mechanism through which interest rate and exchange rate are set by market. Progress was made in reforms related to agricultural affairs, social program, and environmental protection. In opening up, we introduced a series of major moves. Efforts to pursue the Belt and Road initiatives and producing a pace-setting effort Cooperation mechanisms for countries along its route are improving, and economic cooperation, trade, and cultural and people-to-people exchanges under initiative have gathered momentum. We launched policies to ensure growth for foreign trade and cut the time needed for custom clearance by more than half. Important tariff on some goods were lowered, and the overall tariff level was reduced from 9.8 to 7.5%. A number of new integrated pilot zones for cross-border e-commerce were established. Reform measures proven to work in pilot-free zones were replicated and applied elsewhere. We shortened the negative list of foreign investment, opened up sectors like finance and automobile wider to foreign competition, and sped up the implementation of a number of foreign investment projects. The number of new foreign enterprises grew by nearly 70%. 6. We pursue balanced development across rural and urban areas and regions and sped up the formation of a pattern of positive interplay. The rural revitalization strategy was implemented. Grain outputs kept above 650 million metric tons. Solid progress was made in the pursuit of new urbanization. Close to 14 million people, originally from rural areas, gained permanent urban residency. A full range of reform and innovative measures were introduced to advance development in western regions, revitalize the northeast, and energize the central region and support the eastern regions in spearheading development. Progress was made in boosting coordinated development of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, the Yangtze Economic Belt, and efforts to prioritize ecological conservation and boost green development were strengthened. Substantive steps were taken in planning and building of the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macau Greater Bay Area, and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge was open to traffic. We expanded support for reform and development in a revolutionary base area with large ethnic minority populations, border and border areas. Another 4,100 kilometers of high-speed railway open to traffic, and over 6,000 kilometers of expressways, and more than 300,000 kilometers of rural roads were built or improved. With all this, the balanced development between rural urban areas and between regions that continuously improved. 7th, will continue to ensure an improved living standard in the course of pursuing development and enable the people to share more fully and fairly the benefit of reform and opening up. We took prompt steps to ease the impact of change in external environment on employment. We made strong moves to ensure the implementation policy on pay packages of teachers in compulsory education and step up the development of small rural schools and boarding schools in towns and townships. We established a system for the central government to allocate nationwide enterprise employers basic age care insurance funds, raise retirees basic pensions, and increase the minimum basic age care pensions benefit for rural and non-working urban residents from 70 to 88 yuan per person per month. We continue to increase benefits for entitled group and subsistence allowance and ensure that all people with disabilities who are eligible can access living allowance and nursing care subsidies. For demobilized military personnel, we improved service provision and management and protect their lawful rights and interests. Coordinated medical service, medical insurance, and pharmaceutical reforms continued. We made steady progress in developing the tiered diagnosis and treatment model. We raised the level of government subsidies for rural and non-working urban residents' basic medical insurance and the reimbursement rate of their serious illness insurance. The reform for evaluation and approval of new medicines were stepped up. The price of 17 cancer drugs were slashed, and these drugs were included in the National Medical Insurance Catalog. We sped up the implementation of cultural projects designed to benefit the people and continue to strengthen public cultural services at the community level. Fitness for all activities flourished, and Chinese athletes excelled themselves in international competitions. 8th, we made progress in building rule of law government and pursuing innovation in governance and ensure social harmony and stability. We submitted 18 legislative proposals to the Standing Committee of the NPC for deliberation and formulated or revised 37 sets of administrative regulations, reformed and adjusted the composition and responsibility of government bodies. The State Council conducted major accountability inspections to ensure the implementation of reform and opening up policies and plans. We made full use of the role of auditing and oversight. Reform and improve urban and rural governance at the primary level. New approaches were adopted to address public complaints, reform and strengthen emergency management, and responded swiftly and effectively to major natural disasters, and and achieve a continued reduction in both the total number of workplace accidents and the number of serious and major accidents. We strengthened oversight over food and drug safety and investigated and took stern actions in defective vaccine cases like the involving Changchun. We improved the national security system, strengthened comprehensive measures to maintain law and order, launched a campaign to combat organized crimes and root for local mafia, and cracked down on crimes and other legal violations in accordance with the law. Further headway was made in carrying out the Peaceful China initiative. We fully implemented the Party Central Committee's strategic decision on enforcing full and strict discipline over the party and intensified efforts to improve party conduct and build a clean government. We moved to ensure that all party members on a regular and institutional basis work to gain good command of the party constitution, regulation, and General Xi Jinping's policy address to meet party standards. We acted in strict accordance with the Central Party leadership's 8-point decisions and took stern actions against formalities performed for formality's sake, bureaucratism, hedonism, and extravagance. Over the past year, we attained new achievement in pursuing diplomacy with our own characteristics and major country. We successfully hosted major diplomatic events such as Boao Forum for Asia Annual Conference, the Qingdao Summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and Beijing Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. President Xi Jinping and other Chinese leaders visited many countries and attended major international events, including the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting, the G20 Leaders Summit, the BRICS Leaders Meeting, the Asia-Europe Meeting, and the Eastern Asian Leaders Meeting on Cooperation. China's relations with other major countries remain generally stable. Our relations with neighboring countries saw all-round growth, and our bond of unity and cooperation with other developing countries grew stronger. We promoted development of a new type of international relations and a human community with a shared future, and resolutely protected China's sovereignty, security, and development interests. Our pursuit of economic diplomacy and cultural and people-to-people exchanges yielded rich fruit. China endeavored to promote world peace and development and made important contributions recognized around the world. Fellow deputies, we owe our achievement of the past year to the strong leadership of the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, to the sound guidance of Xi Jinping thoughts on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, and to the concerted effort of the party, military, and people of all ethnic groups in China. On behalf of the State Council, express sincere thanks to the people of all ethnic groups and to all the political parties, people's organizations, and public figures from all sectors of society. Express sincere appreciation to our fellow countrymen, the women in the Hong Kong and Macau Special Administrative Region, in Taiwan, and overseas. I also express our sincere gratitude to the government of other countries, international organizations, and friends from all over the world who have shown understanding support for China in its endeavor to achieve modernization. Only alertness to danger will ensure safety. While fully recognizing our achievement, we must also be clear about the problems and challenges our country faces in its development. Growth in the global economy is slowing, protectionism and unilateralism are mounting, and there are drastic fluctuations in the prices of commodities on the international market. Instability and uncertainty are visibly increasing, and external generated risks are on the rise. Downward pressure on the Chinese economy continues to increase, growth in consumption slowing, and growth in effective investment lacks momentum. The real economy faces many difficulties. The difficulties of private firms and small and micro businesses faced in accessing affordable financing have not yet been effectively solved. The business environment still falls short of market entities' expectations. Our capacity for innovation is not strong, and our weaknesses in terms of core technology for key fields remain a salient problems. Budgetary deficit in some localities are quite large. There are still many risks and hidden dangers in financial and other sectors. In deeply impoverished areas, we still face many difficulties. Ecological conservation, pollution prevention, and control continue to be a weighty task. There is still public dissatisfaction in many areas such as education, healthcare, elderly care, housing, food and drug safety, and income distribution. Last year saw the occurrence of a number of public safety incidents and many workplace accidents. The lessons these incidents left us should never be forgotten. There is room for improvement in the work of the government. Some measures and policies for reform and development have not been fully implemented. We still have serious problems with the pointless formalities and bureaucratism, excessive and over-frequent inspections and evaluation, and focus on the superficial to neglect the substantial have increased the burden of the officials working at the primary level. A small number of government employees lack drive, and tons of corruption still occur. We must face the problems and challenges squarely, shoulder our responsibility, fully perform our duties, and do all we can to truly live up to people's expectations.
Second, economic and social development in 2019 over requirements and policy directions. This year is the 70th anniversary of the founding of PRC. It will be a crucial year for us as we endeavor to achieve the first centenary goal of building a moderately prosperous society in all respects. To fulfill the work under the strong leadership of the party's Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we must follow the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, implement fully the guiding principles of the party's 19th National Congress and the second and third plenary sessions of its 19th Central Committee, pursue coordinated progress in the five-sphere integrated plan, pursue balanced progress in the four-pronged comprehensive strategy, adhere to the general principles of pursuing progress while ensuring stability, apply the new development philosophy, work for high-quality development, pursue supply-side structural reform, deepen market-oriented reforms, and expand high-standard opening up, work faster to modernize the economy, continue the three critical battles, invigorate micro-entities, explore innovations, and improve macro-regulation, make coordinated efforts to maintain stable growth, advance reform, and make structural adjustments, improve living standards, and guard against risks, keep major economic indicators within an appropriate range, take further steps to ensure stable employment, financial sector, foreign trade, foreign investment, domestic investment, and stable expectations, boost market confidence, enable people to feel more satisfied, happy, and secure, and sustain healthy economic development and maintain social stability. By doing the above, we will create the pivotal underpinning for implementing the building of a moderately prosperous society and celebrate with outstanding accomplishments the 70th anniversary of the founding of PRC. A full analysis of developments in and outside China shows that in pursuing development this year, we will face a graver and more complicated environment as well as risks and challenges, foreseeable and otherwise, that are greater in number and size. We must be fully prepared for a tough struggle. The difficulties we face must not be underestimated, and our confidence must not be weakened. The energy we bring to our work must not be allowed to wane. China is still in an important period of strategic opportunity for development and has ample resilience, enormous potential, and great creativity to unleash. The longing of our people for a better life is strong. We have the unshakable will and the ability needed to prevail over difficulties and challenges of any kind, and our economic fundamentals are sound and will remain sound over the long term. With the above in mind, the main projected targets for economic and social development this year are set as follows: GDP growth of 6 to 6.5%, over 11 million new urban jobs, the surveyed urban unemployment rate of around 5.5%, and a registered urban unemployment rate within 4.5%, CPI increase of around 3%. A basic equilibrium in the balance of payments and stable, better structured imports and exports, a macro leverage ratio that is stable, and effective prevention and control of financial and fiscal risks, a reduction of over 10 million in the rural poor population, personal income growth that is basically in step with economic growth, a further improvement in the environment, a drop of around 3% in energy consumption per unit of GDP, continued reductions in the discharge of major pollutants. The above projected targets are ambitious, but realistic. They represent our aim of promoting high-quality development and are in keeping with the current realities and are aligned with the goal of completing a moderately prosperous society in all respects. But we need to redouble our efforts. We will ensure that the right direction is set for our macro policies. We will pursue a proactive fiscal policy and a prudent monetary policy, implement an employment-first policy, and strengthen the coordination between these policies to keep major economic indicators within an appropriate range and sustain healthy economic and social development. We will pursue a proactive fiscal policy with greater intensity and performance. Deficit to GDP ratio this year is projected to be at 2.8%, a 0.2 percentage point increase over that of last year. The budgetary deficit is projected at 2.76 trillion yuan, with a central government deficit of 1.83 trillion yuan and a local government deficit of 0.93 trillion yuan. In moderately increasing the deficit to GDP ratio, we have given full consideration to factors such as government revenue and expenditure, the issuance of special bonds, and also we leave policy space to address potential risks in the future. Government expenditure is budgeted at over 23 trillion yuan, a 6.5% increase. The central government's transfer payments to local governments for equalizing access to basic public services will increase by 10.9%. We will reform and improve the mechanism for ensuring basic fiscal capacity at the county level, ease the pressure of budgetary constraints faced by localities, and make certain that people's basic living needs are met. Our prudent monetary policy will be eased or tightened to the right degree. Increases in M2 money supply and aggregate financing should be in keeping with nominal GDP growth to keep major indicators within an appropriate range. In implementation, we will ensure the valve on aggregate monetary supply is well controlled and refrain from using a deluge of stimulus policies, but will also use flexibly a variety of monetary policy instruments to improve the transmission mechanism of monetary policy, maintain reasonably sufficient liquidity, effectively mitigate difficulties faced in the real economy, especially by private enterprises and SMEs in accessing affordable financing, and forestall and diffuse financial risks. Will deepen reforms to strengthen the market's role in setting interest rates and lower real interest rates, will improve exchange rate mechanism and keep RMB exchange rate to generally stable and an adaptive, balanced level. An employment-first policy will be pursued with full force. Employment is the cornerstone of well-being and the wellspring of wealth. This year, for the first time, we are elevating the employment-first policy to the status of a macro policy to increase society-wide attention to employment and support for it. Both in the immediate future and for some time to come, the pressure on aggregate job creation will continue unabated. The related structural issues will become more pronounced, and new factors that affect employment will continue to grow. We must give greater priority to increasing employment. Maintaining stable growth, first and foremost, is to ensure employment. This year, on top of urban job creation target, we will work to reach the actual employment figures of the past few years, so as to ensure employment for the urban workforce, while creating non-agricultural employment opportunities for the surplus rural workforce. With stable employment and increasing incomes, we can continue to be fully confident. We'll continue to pursue supply-side structural reform as our main task, focusing on consolidating, strengthening, upgrading, and ensuring unimpeded flows. We'll use more reforms and means in accordance with market principles and law to consolidate the gains made in the 5 priority tasks. To strengthen the dynamism of micro-entities, to upgrade industrial chains, to ensure unimpeded flows in the economy, moving toward high-quality development. We'll continue the 3 critical battles and adopt precise measures to deliver solid outcomes. To forestall major risks, we should be clear about potential dangers, continue structural deleveraging, forestall abnormal financial market fluctuations, deal prudently with local government debt, and guard against and control externally generated risks. We'll intensify precision poverty alleviation in accordance with current standards, with focus on deeply impoverished areas and the most vulnerable groups to deliver solid outcomes. In addressing pollution, we'll focus on major priorities such as fight to keep our skies blue, take a holistic approach, address both symptoms and root causes, and make continuous improvements to the environment. For the government to deliver this year, we need to get the following relationships right. First, we need to handle in a holistic way the relationship between domestic and international issues and focus on running our own affairs well. China is still and will remain in the primary stage of socialism, and it continues to be the world's largest developing country. Development is the foundation of and key to solving all our country's problems. We must pursue with dedication the central task of economy development, never falter in our commitment to strategic thinking that the development is of paramount importance, and it should be sound and of high quality, and continue to unleash productive forces. Against the backdrop of a complex and fast-changing international environment, we must maintain strategic focus and carry out work in accordance with the goals. We should make better use of both international and domestic markets and resources, face challenges squarely, turn risks into opportunities, and remain firm in our commitment to pursuing development. Second, we need to achieve the right balance in the relationship between maintaining stable growth and guarding against risks to ensure sustained, healthy economic growth. The many risks and potential problems that have been built over the past years demand stronger mitigating action, but in doing so, we need to observe objective laws and take the right approach. Our approach must be firm, controllable, and systematic, and be applied with the right degree of intensity. We need to diffuse risks step by step and decisively forestall any systematic risk. Against the backdrop of mounting downward pressure, the policies and measures we adopt should ensure stable expectations, growth, and structural adjustments. In working to forestall and control risks, we need to get the pace and intensity right. We should see that the effects of tightening are not amplified, and never allow economic indicators to slide out of the appropriate range. At the same time, we must not attend only to immediate concerns or adopt short-term strong stimulus policies that will end up undermining long-term development and generating new risks.
Third, we need to balance the relationship between government and market and energize market entities through reform and opening up. As long as market entities are energized, we can boost the internal forces driving development and withstand the downward pressure. We must work hard to advance reform and open up, speed up the establishment of a unified and open, competitive and orderly modern market system, relax restrictions on market access, ensure impartial regulations, and create a business environment based on rule of law that is internationalized and enabling in order to energize market entities. Ultimately, market vitality and social creativity stem from the initiative of hundreds of millions of people being put into action. We must stay true to the vision of people-centered development and do everything within our capacity to meet people's basic needs, resolve key problems affecting living standards, promote social fairness and justice, and help our people achieve better lives. The Chinese are industrious and talented people and possess boundless potential for innovation and creativity. All we need to do is unleash that potential, and space for China's development going forward will doubtlessly be vast. Three, tasks for 2019. This year, in pursuing economic and social development, we face weighty tasks, many challenges, and high demands. We must have clear priorities and address crucial issues to deliver solid performance across the board. First, we continue to develop new and improved approaches to macro regulations, keep the main economy indicators within an appropriate range. We must keep using market-oriented reform thinking and approaches to resolve problems development, make good use of counter-cyclical macro policy regulations, add to and use flexible financial, monetary, and employment policy instruments, make regulations more forward-looking, targeted, and effective, and create a condition for ensuring stable economic performance. We will implement larger-scale tax cuts. We will introduce both general benefit and structural tax cuts, focusing primarily on reducing tax burdens in manufacturing and on small and micro businesses. VAT reform will be deepened. We will reduce the current rate of 16% in manufacturing and other industry to 13%. And lower the rate in transportation, construction, and other industries from 10 to 9%, thus ensuring that tax burdens in our main industries are meaningfully reduced. Keep the lowest bracket rate unchanged at 6%, while adopting supporting measures like increased tax deduction for producers and consumer services to see that all industrial tax burdens only go down, not up, and continue making progress toward cutting the number of VAT brackets from these 3 to 2 and simplify the VAT system. We will ensure that the general benefit tax cut policies issued at the start of this year for small and micro business are put into effect. Our moves to cut tax on this occasion aim at an accommodative effect of strengthening the basis for sustained growth while also considering the need to ensure fiscal sustainability. And our major measures lighten burden of business and boost market dynamism, an important reform and improve the tax system and achieve better income distribution, and the result of major decisions taken at macro policy level in support of the support to ensure stable economic growth, employment, and structural adjustment. We significantly reduce enterprise contribution to social insurance scheme. We lower the share borne by employees of urban workers' basic age care insurance, and localities may cut contribution down to 16%. The social insurance premium collection method currently in operation will be kept unchanged. No localities should take any measures that increase the burden on small and micro enterprises while reforming the collection systems or require on their own that long-standing arrears be paid off in a lump sum. The current policy reducing premium for employment insurance and work compensation insurance will continue. This year, premier payment partially for small and micro business must be substantially reduced. We will speed up reform at the management of aged care insurance funds, continue to increase the proportion of enterprise workers' basic pension funds under central government allocations, and replenish social security funds through the injection of state capital. We must reduce burdens on the enterprises, but also ensure that employees' social security benefits remain unchanged and aged care pensions increases as appropriate and are paid on time and in full, so that social security funds are sustainable and both enterprises and employees benefit. We ensure tax and free cuts are fully implemented. Tax cuts and fee reduction get right to the spot in tackling the pains and difficulties currently troubling market entities, and policy option. They are both fair and efficient. This year, we will reduce the tax burdens on and social insurance contributions of enterprises by nearly 2 trillion yuan. This will create big pressure on government budgets at all levels. To support this lightening of the burden on enterprises, government at all levels must tighten their belts and find workable means of raising funds. The central government needs to increase revenues and reduce expenditures. Profits turned in by designated state-owned Financial institutions and enterprises directly under the central government should be increasing. Gender expenditure should be cut by 5%. Spending official overseas visits, vehicles, and hospitality should be cut by another 3%. And all funds that have long stayed unused will be taken back. Local government also need to dig deep and improve the mixture of spending and put various funds and assets to good use through multiple avenues. We'll let market entities, especially SMEs, feel the weight of their burden being meaningfully lightened, honor our promises to enterprises and society, and seeing that no matter the number of difficulties, this important job gets done and gets done well. We'll work hard to alleviate difficulty faced by enterprises in accessing affordable financing, reform and refine monetary and credit supply mechanism, and employ as needed as a combination of quantitative and pricing approaches, like require reserve ratios and interest rates to guide financial institutions increasing credit supply and bring down the cost of borrowing, ensure targeted and efficient support for the real economy, and avoid funds circulating within the financial sector without entering the real economy. More targeted cuts will be made to required reserve ratios for medium and small banks, and additional funds thus released will lend to private enterprises and small and micro businesses. We will support large commercial banks in replenishing capital through multiple channels, strengthen their capacity to supply credit, encourage them to increase medium and long-term loans and credit loans to the manufacturing sector. This year, loans to be granted to SMEs by large-owned commercial banks will increase by 30%. Fee charge for banking and intermediary service will be overhauled, will improve the internal assessment mechanism, and achieve a market improvement in providing financial for medium, small, and micro enterprises, and see that there are definite reductions to overall financing costs. We'll make effective use of local government bonds this year. 2.15 trillion yuan of special loan government fund will be issued, and 800 billion yuan increase on last year. This is designed to both provide funds for key projects and create conditions for better foreselling and diffusing local government's debts. The scope of use of special local government bonds will be moderately expanded. We continue to issue some local government's bonds to replace outstanding debts in order to reduce the interest payment burdens. We will encourage the adoption of market approaches to solve the issues of maturing debt on financing platform, make sure that projects financed by such debt are not stepped halfway. We use multiple channels to achieve stable and expanding employment, work to ensure employment for key groups such as college graduates, demobilize the military personnel and rural migrant workers, and should give greater employment support for urban job seekers facing difficulties in secure employment. Enterprises hiring staff from rural poor people or urban residents resident as unemployed for 6 months will be entitled to a fixed amount of tax-free and free deduction for 3 years. Strengthen support for flexible employment and protect against the stop gender and identity discrimination in employment. We implement a vocational skill and training initiative and allocate 100 billion yuan from the surplus of the unemployment insurance funds to provide training for over 15 million people, upgrading their skills and switching jobs or industries. Stepping up the development of modern vocational education is a strategic move that will not only ease current employment pressure, but also help to address the shortage of high-skilled personnel. We will reform and improve the ways that vocational college conduct examinations and enrollment, encourage more high school graduates, demobilize military personnel, laid-off workers, and rural migrant workers as to apply, and this year achieve a larger-scale expansion of 1 million in students' enrollment. We will expand the coverage of scholarship and grants for vocational college students and raise the level of financial assistance and speed up work to align vocational technical grade certificates with academic credentials. We will reform the operating mechanism of vocational college and raise the quality of vocational education. Central government will greatly increase physical support, and local government should also strengthen their support. A state scholarship for secondary vocational education will be established. We will support enterprises and private sectors in providing vocational education. Through major reforms and development of modern vocational education, we will move faster to train the different types of technical and skilled workers urgently need in our development, enabling more young young people to gain professional skills and realize their potential, and producing a vast range of talent ready to shine bright. Second, we work to energize market entities and improve the business environment. There are hundreds of millions of market entities in China, and the number is growing. The key to promoting stable economic growth lies in maintaining and increasing their level of activity. We must push forward with a reform that delegates power, improve regulation, and upgrade services to bring down government-imposed transaction costs, and make every effort to create an enabling environment for the development. Will cut government approvals and to create a favorable environment for investment and business startups. Also, we need to reduce the direct allocation of resources. Each requirement for government approval that should be cancelled will be cancelled. Where approval is required, the procedure and steps involved will be simplified. This will leave company to spend more time doing business and less time chasing approvals. This year, all permits required of business will be separated from the business license to make it quicker and easier for companies to get a license and start operating as soon as possible, and will put an end to the phenomenon of letting firms but not letting them to do business. Reforms of the system and construction project approval will be introduced nationwide, and the time approval needed at every stage of a project will be significantly shortened.
We'll encourage online approvals and services and make it possible for such services to be accessed via one website and processed remotely, so that more matters can be dealt with without the need to be physically present. For matters that do require presence in person, they should be processed at one single window without a specified time and without the need for a second visit. We will pursue cut certification to create convenience reform initiative to see that they are not saddled with running from pillar to post for certificates. We'll establish a government service evaluation system and let the public judge if our service is up to scratch. Delivering good service is what a government is meant to do. Failure to do so means failing. We'll conduct impartial regulation for fair competition. Fair competition is at the heart of the market economy, and impartial regulation safeguards fair competition. We'll reform and improve the fair competition review and impartial regulation systems, and do away with all regulations and practices that impede the functioning of a unified market and fair competition. Simple regulations are easy to follow. The simpler and more transparent the rules are, the more robust and effective regulation is. At the national level, the focus is on developing unified regulatory rules and standards, while local governments should concentrate most of their energy on conducting impartial regulation. We'll continue interdepartmental oversight through random selection of both inspectors and inspection targets and the prompt release of results. We'll promote credit rating-based regulation and Internet Plus regulation reform initiative and develop better ways of enforcing laws on environmental protection, fire prevention, tax collection, and market oversight, and see that lawbreakers are punished in accordance with the law. We'll deepen the reform of coordinated law enforcement, overhaul government penalties and punitive measures, and address overlapping and duplication in enforcement. Regulators themselves must also be subject to strong oversight. There cannot be any tolerance for selective or arbitrary law enforcement or for making things difficult. We will crack down on violations of law, such as the sale of counterfeit and substandard goods, and make the price to pay for lawbreakers too dear to afford. We will ensure fair, efficient, and dynamic market. We'll carry out reforms to promote reductions in business-related charges. We'll deepen market-oriented reforms in electric power sector, overhaul surcharges on electricity prices, lower electricity costs in manufacturing, and cut the average electricity price for general industrial and commercial business by another 10%. We'll reform the toll road system, move to cut tolls on highways and bridges, and put a stop to unjustified requirements for approval, as well as arbitrary charges and fines on passenger and freight transport vehicles. Within 2 years, we'll remove all expressway toll booths at provincial borders. and make non-stop collection a reality. This will cut traffic congestion and make road transport more convenient. A number of railway and port charges will be abolished. We'll launch an initiative to address the collection of charges by intermediary organizations. We will review and standardize government-levied charges. We will develop comprehensive listing system for collection of charges, making charge collecting open and transparent, and leaving unauthorized charges no place to hide. 3. We will continue to pursue innovation-driven development and foster new growth drivers. We will make full use of our country's combined strengths, its abundant human resource and talent and vast market, reform and develop new mechanisms for ST-R&D and industrial application, and foster professionalism to speed up the replacement of old growth drivers with new ones. We will transform and upgrade traditional industries to promote the development of high-quality manufacturing. We will strengthen the foundations of industry and the capacity for technological innovation, boost the integrated development of advanced manufacturing and modernized services, and work faster to make China strong in manufacturing. We'll create industrial internet platforms and expand Internet Plus initiatives to facilitate transformation. We will support enterprises in speed up technological transformation and equipment upgrading by extending the preferential policy of accelerated depreciation of fixed assets to the entire manufacturing sector. We will support capacity of quality infrastructure, upgrade our standards to meet advanced international ones, and improve the quality of products to encourage more domestic and foreign users to choose Chinese goods and services. We will speed up the growth of emerging industries. We will strengthen R&D and the application of big data and artificial intelligence technologies, foster clusters of emerging industries like next-generation information technology, high-end equipment, biomedicine, new energy automobiles, new materials, and expand the digital economy. We will continue prudential regulations, support the growth of new forms and models of business, and stimulate the healthy development of platform economy and sharing economy. We will pursue Internet Plus initiatives in all industries. We will speed up broadband and lower internet rates. We will launch demo projects to extend 1,000 m broadband connectivity to urban homes, upgrade networks for distant education and telemedicine, and expand the capacity of mobile telecommunication base stations and upgrade them to provide faster and more reliable broadband connections for Internet users. This year, average broadband service rates for SME will be lowered by another 15%, and average rates for mobile Internet services will be further cut by more than 20%. Nationwide, cell phone subscribers will be able to keep their numbers while switching carriers, and cell phone packages will be regulated to achieve solid fee cuts. We will increase our ability to provide scientific and technological support. We will keep supporting basic and application-oriented basic research, step up original innovation, and achieve breakthroughs in core technologies in key fields. We'll build enterprise-led mechanisms for bringing together firms, universities, and research institutes to engage in innovation. Innovation cooperation will be expanded. We will enhance intellectual property protection across the board, improve the system of punitive compensation for IP infringements, and promoting invention and creation. Technological innovation is in essence a human creative activity. We must fully respect and trust our scientists and empower teams and leaders of innovation by placing more human, financial, and material resources at their disposal and giving them more power to make decisions. We will increase the proportion of indirect funding for basic research projects, pilot the creation of ceiling that enable the retention of unused funds, set no limits on the proportions of spending items, and give research teams the power to decide how to use the funds. We will ensure that measures to reform science and technology management systems are fully implemented and must not allow reform policies to become hollow promises. We will work hard to cut red tape to enable researchers to concentrate on learning, innovation, and breakthroughs. We'll strengthen research ethics, improve academic practice, take disciplinary action against academic misconduct, and guard against acting rashly to seek quick results. China has the largest pool of scientists in the world. If we foster a healthy research environment, we will sure to see brilliant and capable people emerge in all fields. We will encourage startups and innovation nationwide. We will encourage more private sectors to engage in innovation and startup businesses, expand the space for economic and social development, strengthen comprehensive services, and give play to the pathfinding role of innovation and entrepreneurship demo centers. We will strengthen inclusive support for innovation and business startups and implement preferential tax policies such as raising VAT threshold from 30,000 to 100,000 yuan of monthly sales for small-scale taxpayers. We will improve financial support mechanisms, establish a science and technology innovation board that will pilot an IPO registration system, encourage the issuing of special bonds, and support the growth of venture capital investment. We'll improve mechanisms for training, employing, and evaluating capable people and provide better services for students returning from overseas and foreign professionals. By combining our response to market demand with the spirit of humanity and by bringing together capable people with talents of all kinds, we will be sure to see better development in Chinese innovation and thus do our part for the progress of human civilization. 4. We will stimulate the development of a robust domestic market and keep unlocking the potential of domestic demand. We'll fully leverage the basic role of consumption and the key role of investment, ensure steady, effective domestic demand, and thus boost stable economic performance. We will promote steady growth in consumption. We'll use a combination of measures to increase urban and rural personal incomes and boost capacity for consumption. We'll fully implement the revised individual income tax law to see that approximately 80 million taxpayers to whom reductions apply get the most out of these policies. We will adapt to new challenges and changes in consumption needs, use multiple avenues to increase the supply of quality products, and act faster to resolve problems blocking the entry of private investment. The number of people aged 60 in China and above has now reached 250 million. We'll develop elderly care, especially community elderly care services. We will support institutions offering services in the community like daycare, rehabilitation care, assisted meal services, and outdoor movement services using measures such as tax and fee cuts, exemptions, funding support, and lower charges for water, electricity, gas, and heating. New residential areas should include facilities for elderly care services. We will refine policies for integrating medical and elderly care services and extend trials for long-term care, so our elderly could live happily and our young can have a future to look forward to. Infant and child care is important to millions of families. In response to the new demands created by the full implementation of the two-child policy, we'll move faster to develop various types of infant and child care services, encourage private actors to run child care and early childhood education agencies, and provide better protection for the safety of our children. We'll develop tourism to maintain steady automobile consumption. We will keep the preferential policies on the purchase of new energy vehicles. We will develop new forms of consumption and promote the growth of both online and offline consumption. We'll improve logistics network in rural areas and support e-commerce and express delivery services. We will protect consumers' rights and interests and ensure worry-free and convenient consumption.
We'll expand effective investment as appropriate, closely follow national development strategies, and celebrate implement of a number of key projects. 800 billion yuan will be invested in railway, 1.8 trillion yuan will be invested in road construction and waterway projects, and work will start a number of major water conservancy projects, speed up planning and construction of Trans-Tibet Railway, and boost infrastructure investment for intercity transportation, logistics, utility disaster prevention and mitigation, and civil and general aviation. Further develop next-generation information infrastructure. This year, 577.6 billion yuan is including the central government budget for related investment increase of 40 billion yuan on last year. Explore new form of project financing, lower appropriate capital contribution requirement for infrastructure projects, and make good use of development financial industry and attract more private capitals into key projects. See to that policies will ensure private investment are implemented and take steps to strengthen cooperation between government and private capital. The government must set an example in acting in good faith and honor contracts. New officials must be allowed to get away with ignoring the obligations undertaken by predecessors. Over 50% of overdue payment enterprises must be made by the end of the year. Fifth, we'll make solid progress in poverty alleviation and rural revitalization, move closer to completing the task of building a moderately prosperous society. We'll continue to prioritize the development of agriculture in rural areas, strengthen poverty alleviation and rural revitalization, ensure that the goals are achieved and rural living standards are increased. We'll beat poverty with precision alleviation. We'll give priority to our work of seeing that basic living needs for rural population are met and that such people have access to compulsory education, basic medical service and housing. Will intensify poverty alleviation areas of extreme poverty, ensure social safeguards. Eradicating poverty and achieving prosperity cannot be achieved without the support of industries. We will support impoverished areas in developing business and leverage local strengths, launch initiatives to address school dropout rates, and achieve reduction in rural students' dropout rates in poor areas. We will continue to increase the size of special enrollment quota at key university for students for rural and poor areas, and make use of fundamental rural education to support poverty from being passed on to the next generation. We move towards completion of the 13th Five-Year Plan construction task and planned relocating of poor people from inhospitable areas. Support policy to supply to countries and populations have recently been lifted out of poverty. We maintain for a period of consolidated period in poverty alleviation. We improve evaluation oversight and ensure that result in inspection and poverty alleviation by central government inspection teams serve their intended purpose. The further we get in the crucial stage, the greater the need in every aspect of our work to tackle these problems. In order to stand the test of time, we improve agriculture, particularly grain production. We must ensure through our efforts food supply for close to 1.4 billion people of China. To this end, we will keep gain support output stable and increase the area of high standard cropland by no less than 5.33 million hectares. Ensure that production of hogs and other type of livestock and keep diseases like African swine fever under control. We will speed up reform and innovation in agricultural technology, develop modern seed industry, implement programs to protect agricultural products with graphical indications and advanced mechanisms. We will foster new types of agriculture business such as family farms and farm cooperatives, improve commercial services catering to small agricultural households, and develop a diverse range of agricultural cooperation. We will support people who are returning to move to the countryside to start business and pursue innovation and promote the development of the primary, secondary, and tertiary industries. Income must be increased in rural areas and must address the root wage appear owing to rural migrant workers. Act fast to draw up government regulations specifically with this aim. We will take solid steps to upgrade rural infrastructure. We will adopt sound development plans, significantly improve living and working conditions. Implement will be accelerated programs to consolidate and build on progress already made, improving safe drinking water in rural areas. Remaining problems of poor access to safe drinking water will be resolved in 2 years. An additional 60 million rural residents will have access to safe drinking water. New round of rural power grid upgrading will be completed, and work to improve rural living environment in light of local conditions, making progress in toilet revolution, improve garbage and sewage treatment. We will deepen comprehensive rural reform. We expand the use of practice proven successful through trials and rural land requisition, market rural collective land of development purposes, and reform the system and the rural residential land. Deepen reform relating to collective property rights and state forestry. Will reform and improve the agricultural protection and support system, refine a market-based pricing mechanism for grains, and rural reform will be deepened. All these efforts will surely inject new vitality in China's vast countryside. We will ensure promote coordinated development across regions, improve the quality of new urbanization. To address unbalanced and inefficient development, we will reform and refine the mechanism and policies to enable regions and complement each other with their respective strengths and promote integrated urban-rural development. Improve the layout of development for all regions, especially in the enterprises in the western regions and still work on their exploration. Reform and innovative measures will be implemented to improve and facilitate Northeast China's full revitalization, Central China's rise, and East China's trailblazing development. In pursuing integrated development of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, will give priority to Beijing's functions and also develop the Xunhua New Area according to high standards. In developing the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, will work to ensure the implementation of the plans and also facilitate flow factors of production and the movement of people, and will make the Yangtze River Delta to the status of national strategy and design and implement the overall development plan. In development of Yangtze Economic Belt, will continue to pursue coordinated development and strengthen both the protection and restoration of ecosystem and development comprehensive transportation system to create a belt of quality economic development. Will support economic transformation in resource-depleted areas, especially in revolutionary base area with large ethnic minority populations, poor areas, and to help them to catch up. Will develop a blue economy and protect the marine environment. Will advance new urbanization. Will continue to stimulate the development of city clusters through the development of leading cities, make sure that progress in granting permanent urban residency to people who move to cities from countryside, and also to make sure that the basic urban public service cover all permanent urban residents. Better address people's housing needs and reform and improve housing market and support system and sustain the steady and unhealthy development of real estate market, continue to build government subsidies housing and rebuild rundown urban areas to meet the basic housing needs. Old residential areas in cities are large. We will make significant input in their regeneration, especially the roads, water, power, and gas supplies and other supply infrastructure, and improvement amenities like markets, convenience stores, pedestrian streets, parking lots, and barrier-free access facilities. New urbanization should be people-centered. We need to be better at conducting flexible governance and providing thoughtful design services to make our city more livable and give them a more inclusive and welcoming feel. 7th, will strengthen pollution prevention and control, enhance ecological improvement, and make big advances in green development. Green development is a critical element. It is also a fundamental solution to pollution. We reform and refine relevant systems and pursue high-quality development in environmental protection. We'll keep intensifying effort to prevent and control pollution. Gains in mating fight to keep out sky blue and be consolidated and expanded. This year, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide emission will be cut by 3%, and there will be continuous decline in PM2.5 density in key areas. We'll continue to improve the air condition in and around the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, in Yangtze River Delta and the Franco-Wei River Plain area. Make stronger moves to tackle 3 major sources of pollution, and also to do a good job to promote clean heating in northern China. Water and soil pollution prevention control will be strengthened, and this year will achieve a 2% drop in both chemical oxygen demand and ammonia and nitrogen emission. And will set up sorting in solid waste and urban garbage disposal. At the primary sector and pollution prevention control, enterprises must feel their responsibility protecting the environment according to law. We need to reform and find new approaches to environmental governance, but we must conduct oversight. We must also heed their justified concerns and provide better assistance. Enterprises need to take measures to meet standards should be given a reasonable grace period to do so, and must avoid handling things in a simplistic way. When enterprises have both motivation themselves and external pressure, our work to prevent and control pollution is certainly to produce more effective results.
Will strengthen green environmental protection industries. We will develop thermal power, steel, and other industries reform to achieve ultra-low emissions and enforce upgrades in heavily polluting sectors to achieve compliance with standards. We will promote cleaner use of coal and work faster to address the problem of idle capacity. The development of sewer networks and treatment facilities in urban areas will be sped up. We will develop green construction and eco-friendly buildings. We will improve environmental economic policies, develop green finance, develop leading enterprises specializing in environmental protection, and enhance our capacity of green development. will step up efforts to protect ecosystems. We will press ahead with trials to conserve the ecosystems of mountains, rivers, lakes, forests, farmland, and grassland. We will strengthen afforestation, desertification prevention, the prevention of soil erosion, the protection of biodiversity. Reform of national park system will be deepened. Promoting green development is down to every last one of us. Its success hinges on action and commitment. We must work together to create a beautiful and livable environment for our people. Eighth, we'll deepen reforms in key sectors and speed up the improvement of market mechanisms. We'll focus on resolving acute problems and key links. Deepen relevant reforms, make our systems and mechanisms better able to promote high-quality development and fully unlock market dynamism and social creativity. We'll accelerate state capital and SOE reforms. We'll strengthen the regulation of state assets and continue to conduct trials in reform to establish state capital investment and management companies so as to maintain and increase the value of state assets. Reforms to introduce mixed ownership will be actively but prudently advanced. We will improve corporate governance structures, make their operating mechanisms market-based, and introduce measures and practices such as hiring professional managers. We will work in accordance with law to address zombie enterprises. Reforms will be deepened in power, oil, natural gas, and railway sectors. In natural monopoly industries, network ownership and operation will be separated in light of the specific conditions of the industries to make competitive aspects of their operations fully market-based. SOEs should get stronger and healthier through reform and innovation to continue increasing their vitality and core competitiveness. We will work for big improvements in the development environment of private sector. We'll uphold the 2 No E-resolutions principle and encourage support and guide the development of non-public sector. We'll follow the principle of competitive neutrality so that when it comes to access to factors of production, market access, license, business operations, government procurement, public bidding, and so on, enterprises under all forms of ownership will be treated on an equal footing. We'll foster a new type of cordial and clean relationship between government and business, improve mechanisms for their communication, inspire entrepreneurial spirit, and promote upgrading in the private sector. IPR protection must be taken, and infringements on property rights will be dealt with in accordance with law. Any wrongly adjudicated cases will be corrected. We will create a positive business environment so that entrepreneurs can be free of concerns in doing business. We'll deepen reforms of the fiscal, taxation, and financial systems. We'll take further reform measures to make budgets more transparent and promote reform efforts to clearly define the respective fiscal powers and expenditure responsibilities of central and local governments. We'll improve local tax systems and prudently advance legislation on real estate tax. We'll improve the mechanisms by which local governments secure financing. We'll improve the structure of financial system and develop private and community banks to better serve the real economy. We'll improve the basic systems of the capital market to promote healthy and steady development of multi-tiered capital markets. The national level of the proportion of direct financing, particularly equity financing, will be increased. The insurance sector's role in protecting against risk will be enhanced. We'll strengthen monitoring, early warnings, mitigation, and control of financial risks. China's fiscal and financial systems are on the whole stable, and we have many policy tools available, so we are fully capable of ensuring that no systematic risks will emerge. 9. We will promote all-around opening up and foster new strengths in international economic cooperation and competition. We'll open more sectors and improve the layout of opening up, continue to promote opening up based on flows of goods and factors of production, and give greater emphasis to opening up based on rules and related institutions, driving an all-round deepening of reforms through high-standard opening up. We'll promote stable and higher quality growth of foreign trade. We will diversify export markets. We will expand the coverage of export credit insurance and reform and improve support policies for new forms of business such as cross-border e-commerce. We will encourage innovative development in service trade, guide the transformation and upgrading of processing trade and its shift to the central and western regions, give better play to the role of integrated bonded areas. The import mix will be improved and imports will be actively expanded. The second CRIE will be hosted. We will step up efforts to facilitate customs clearance. We'll do more to attract foreign investment. We will relax controls over market access, shorten the negative list for foreign investment, and permit wholly foreign-funded enterprises to operate in more sectors. We will reform the opening up measures in the financial sectors, improve policies on opening the bond market. We will align our policies with internationally accepted trade rules, enhance policy transparency and consistency in implementation, and create a fair and impartial market environment where Chinese and foreign companies are treated as equals and engage in fair competition. We'll strengthen efforts to protect foreign investors' legitimate rights and interests. We will grant greater autonomy to pilot free trade zones to carry out reform and innovation, expand the Shanghai Pilot Free Trade Zone, step up the building of the Hainan Pilot Free Trade Zone, and explore the opening of a free trade port with Chinese features. We will support national-level economic development zones, new and high-tech development zones, and new areas in implementing trial reforms pioneered and developed in pilot free trade zones so that they can better lead their surrounding areas and grow into pace-setters of reform. China's investment environment is all set to get better, which means more business opportunities for foreign companies in China are a sure thing. We'll promote the joint pursuit of BRI. We'll adhere to the principle of pursuing shared growth through discussion, collaboration, and observe market principles and international rules. We'll see that enterprises are the main actors. Advance infrastructural connectivity, strengthen international cooperation on production capacity, and expand third-party market cooperation. We'll host the second BRI Forum for International Cooperation. We'll work to ensure the healthy and orderly growth of outbound investment and international cooperation. We'll also promote trade and investment liberalization and facilitation. China is committed to safeguarding economic globalization and free trade, and is actively involved in the reform of the World Trade Organization. We'll accelerate the establishment of a network of high-standard free trade areas, advance negotiations on the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, the China-Japan ROK Free Trade Agreement, and the China-EU Investment Agreement, and continue to promote China-US trade negotiations. China is committed to mutually beneficial cooperation and win-win development, and settling trade disputes through discussion as equals. We faithfully honor our commitments and are resolute in safeguarding our lawful rights and interests. 10. We will speed up the development of social programs to better ensure and improve living standards. Although the pressure of maintaining a balanced budget will grow this year, inputs to ensure basic living standards will only be increased and not cut. We'll support private actors in boosting the supply of non-basic public services to meet people's multi-level and diverse needs. We'll develop more equitable and higher quality education. We'll promote the integrated development of urban and rural compulsory education, move faster to improve conditions in rural schools and address problem of oversized classes in urban schools, ensure access to education for children living with their migrant worker parents in cities, develop Internet plus education models, and promote high-quality resources sharing. We will increase the supply of preschool education through multiple avenues. The government will support all kindergartens that meet safety standards, charge reasonable fees, and have the trust of parents, regardless of whether they are public or private. We'll continue work to make senior secondary education universal and provide quality ethnic minority education, special needs education, and continuing education. We will strictly ensure the full payment of pay packages to teachers working in compulsory education. We will develop world-class universities and world-class disciplines. This year, despite significant fiscal constraints, government budgetary spending on education will remain above 4% of GDP. The central government spending on education will exceed 1 trillion yuan. We need to use these precious funds well and work hard to provide education that our people are happy with, to do justice to our hope for tomorrow. We will ensure access to basic medical and health services. We will increase basic medical insurance and serious disease insurance protection for rural and non-working urban residents. Government subsidies for resident medical insurance will be raised by an average of 30 yuan per person, half of which is to be used for serious disease insurance. We'll lower the deductible line for serious disease insurance, raise the reimbursement rate from 50 to 60%, further reducing the burden of medical care for people with serious diseases and people living in poverty. We will strengthen the prevention of serious diseases. Tens of millions of Chinese families are affected by cancer. To ease this pain that has such an effect on people's lives, we will take action in cancer prevention and treatment and promote preventative screening, early diagnosis and treatment, and breakthroughs in cancer research. We will improve prevention and treatment of common chronic illnesses. Outpatient medicines for treating high blood pressure, diabetes will be made reimbursable under the medical insurance scheme. We will speedily implement and improve the policy on interprovincial on-the-spot settlement of medical bills through basic medical insurance accounts. We will enable patients to use their medical insurance cards for medical treatment in any designated hospitals and settle their bills straight away regardless of the locality. This will make things easier for the migrant population and elderly people.
We will deepen comprehensive reform of public hospitals, encourage development of private-run hospitals, establish systems for remote medical care service, enhance training community medical workers, and improve services both under the tertiary diagnosis and treatment and by family doctors. Prevention will continue to be our priority. The increase in government subsidies for basic public health service expenditure will be used entirely for villages and communities to ensure direct benefit to the people. Maternal and child healthcare service will be improved to support the preservation, innovation, and development of traditional Chinese medicine. Drugs and vaccines protect lives. We must strengthen the entire process of regulation from production to use, bring lawbreakers to justice, and investigate negligence and deregulation of duty and hold the guilty to account, to guard the line, protecting the lives and health of our people. We improve the social security system and related policies, build a robust multi-level aged care social protection system, and continue to increase the basic retirement pension, ensure benefits for demobilized military personnel, and improve the policy under basic medical insurance and basic aged care insurance. Urban and rural subsistence allowance special assistance program will be increased, and social protection of children in difficult situations will be improved. Efforts will be intensified to assist the struggle urban employment to get out of poverty. Disability prevention and rehabilitation service will be improved. We must do our best to address urgent needs and provide help when they need it most, and ensure that basic living needs of the people are met. We will work to ensure and enrich an intellectual and cultural life for our people. We will foster and practice core socialist value, carry out a broad range of public activities to promote cultural and ethnical advancement, and encourage the spirit of struggle, spirit of science, and role model work ethic, and pursue workmanship. This will create a source of aspiration to the pursuit of excellence. We will accelerate development of philosophy and social science with Chinese features, intensify effort to improve online content, work to see that art and literature thrive, and develop the press, publishing, radio, film, television, and archiving. The production and use of cultural relic and ICH will be strengthened. The reform and development of cultural programs and industries, and build public cultural service capacity and people-to-people and cultural exchange with other countries will be boosted. Fitness for our activity will be carried out. We will make sure we are ready for the 2020 Olympics and Paralympic Games, and undertake the 2022 Winter Olympic Games and Paralympic Games in Beijing, and host the successful 7th Sport Military Games. When our people are in good health, both mentally and physically, our society will be full of vitality and our country will thrive. We'll strengthen social governance and explore new ways to conduct it. We'll shift the focus of social governance to the community level, extend practice promoting social harmony developed in Fenchao Town, Zhejiang Province, and develop a new model of urban and rural community service, and guide and support the health development social organization, humanitarian assistance, volunteering services, and also to protect the legitimate right of interest of women, children, and elderly, people with disabilities, and improve the work to address public complaints constraints. We will improve the national emergency response system and our capacity for disaster prevention, mitigation, and relief. We'll strengthen workplace safety and guard against the occurrence of major accidents. Seismological, meteorological, hydrological, and mapping work will be done well. We'll continue the activity to improve the public awareness of laws and strengthen national security capacity building, improve the multidimensional crime prevention and control system, and intensify the special campaign to root out organized crimes and local mafia. In accordance with the law, punish legal criminal offenses such as theft, robbery, fraud, pornography, gambling, and also crack down crimes like illegal fundraising and pyramid schemes, and tackle problems such as the abuse of personal information. Ensure that our people live in peace and safety. Fellow deputies, new development tasks have created new and higher demands for our work of our government. At every level, we should keep in mind the four awarenesses and four competences and do the two maintenance. We should strengthen our actions and confidence and also center around resolutely around General Secretary Xi Jinping's core position on the Party Central Committee and the party as a whole, and also to conduct self-reform and increase the government's confidence. We should also better meet the people's new expectations for a better life. We continue to fully perform the functions of government in accordance with the law. We must implement the basic strategies and also abide by the constitution of law and bring government activity in line with the rule of law. At every level of government, we must accept that law requires the oversight of People's Congress and their standing committee at the corresponding level, readily subject ourselves to the oversight of CPPCC and public oversight. Everything we do in the government should be what people want. We will make decisions in sound, democratic, and legally compliant way. Listen carefully to the views of the deputies of the CPPCC and the committee members, and listen to the views and political parties, federations, industry, and commerce, people without any party affiliations, and people's organizations. This will make sure that each of our policy fits the condition and reality of our country and respond to people's desires and better satisfy people's demand. We promote transparency for all government affairs, trade unions, as Community Youth League, and the women's federations and other organizations. Fully implement the system responsibility and accountability of our government enforces law and regulations. All actions that violate laws will be investigated and punished. All stunts of failure to enforce the law will be the basic decency must be resolutely stopped, and any employment of government found to be not doing their job must be firmly held to account. We will step up efforts to improve party conduct and ensure clean government. We will hold activities about keeping in mind our party's founding mission, enforce the Party Central Committee's 8-point decision on conduct and its rules for implementation, and keep up efforts to address formalities, bureaucratism, hedonism, and extravagance. Intensify work to build a clean government and take accordance to make governing employees do not dare, not able, not want to commit corruption. Audit-based oversight will be strengthened. The government must readily subject ourselves to the oversight of the law and supervisory bodies. The ultimate measures for our performance, what we deliver. Government in all levels must oppose and put stop to all pointless formalities and bureaucratism in the manifestation. We should free government employees from the mountains of documents and endless meetings, from the superfluous surrounding evaluation inspection, and from report writing and form fill-in. Instead, spend our energy in solving real problems. We will cut down and overhaul matters subject to inspection, check and evaluation, and implement an internet press inspection initiative. Number of meetings and documents will be cut, and this year's State Council office and departments will lead the way in making major reductions to the number of meetings and will cut the number of documents issued by over a third. We will strengthen our readiness to shoulder responsibility. The achievement China's reform and opening up to date have been made by officials and people through perseverance and hard work. To achieve the two centenary goals and let the happiness and ambition of the Chinese people to be realized, we need to put in long-term hard work. Government work for the public, and words can compare with actions. All level and employees of government should be down to earth and practical. We should let what we have achieved in reform and development speak for themselves. deliver a good performance in what we do, and improve the mechanism of offering incentives, imposing constraint, and conduct due diligence. We should create an atmosphere that officials can ready and eager to try. We will keep central and local government motivated, respect the pioneer spirit, and also offer incentives. All of the work in the government must have true delegation and be enterprising. We must never sidestep difficulties, and we must knuckle down their work. It's tough, and both creative in approach and being sense of feasibility. We should make new achievements worthy of our people and make remarkable new accomplishment in pursuing China's development. Fellow deputies, we will improve the system of regional ethnic autonomy, implementing full the party's policies on ethnic affairs, heighten public awareness of ethnic unity and progress, enable people of all ethnic groups to live together happily, work together for common cause, and live in harmony. We will support development of ethnic minority areas for development of ethnic groups with smaller populations, redouble efforts to boost development in border regions and benefit the people. Together, we'll build a beautiful homeland in which 56 ethnic groups work together for a common prosperity and development. We must implement the party's policy on religious affairs, abide by the principles that the regions in China must be Chinese in orientation, oversee religious affairs in accordance with law, and encourage religious leaders and believers to take part in promoting economic and social development.
We'll act on policies related to overseas Chinese nationals and protect their legitimate rights and interests, and those of returned overseas Chinese and relatives of overseas Chinese nationals residing in China. We'll strengthen our services for them, give play to their unique strength and important role, seek the greatest convergence of interests among all Chinese, both at home and overseas, and forge a mighty force. Fellow deputies, over the past year, we strengthened national defense and the armed forces, made many new accomplishments in this endeavor, and brought new changes to our military. In the year ahead, we will continue to take as our guide the party's goal of building stronger armed forces for the new era, and ensure that our work to develop national defense and the armed forces is guided by Xi Jinping's thinking on strengthening the military. We will ensure the political loyalty of the armed forces, strengthen them through reform, science, technology, and run them in accordance with law. We'll observe the fundamental principle of absolute party leadership of the armed forces and fully enforce the system of ultimate responsibility resting with the chairman of the Central Military Commission. We'll implement the military strategy for the new era, strengthen their training under combat conditions, and firmly protect China's sovereignty, security, and development interests. Reforms in national defense and the armed forces will continue. Will heighten public awareness of national defense. The system of national defense mobilization will be strengthened. Will further implement the military-civilian integration strategy and take efforts to make innovations in defense-related science and technology. We in government at all levels must concern ourselves with and vigorously support the development of national defense and the armed forces, conduct extensive activities to promote mutual support between the military and civilians, so that the tree of unity between military and government and between military and the people will continue to grow. Fellow deputies, will continue fully and faithfully to implement the policies of one country, two systems, the people of Hong Kong governing Hong Kong, and the people of Macau governing Macau, and a high degree of autonomy for both regions, and act in compliance with China's constitution and basic laws of Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions. The governments and chief executives of the two regions have our full support. We'll support the two regions in seizing the opportunities presented by BRI and the Greater Bay Area strategy, giving play to their strength and deepening mutual beneficial cooperation with the mainland in all fields. We have every confidence that Hong Kong and Macau will thrive together with the mainland, and mainland long-term prosperity and stability. We'll adhere to the major principles and policies on work related to Taiwan. We'll implement the guiding principles of General Secretary Xi Jinping's speech at the meeting to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the issuance of the message to our compatriots in Taiwan. We'll uphold the One China policy and the 1992 consensus, promote the peaceful growth of relations across the Taiwan Straits, and advance China's peaceful reunification. will resolutely oppose and deter any separatist schemes or activities seeking Taiwan independence and protect China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Will deepen integrated development on both sides of the Taiwan Strait and keep expanding cross-strait economic and cultural exchanges and cooperation. The people on both sides of Taiwan Strait are bound by kinship and share a common destiny. We should work together to create a beautiful future for all Chinese. Fellow deputies, the world today faces profound changes of a kind unseen in a century. China will remain on the path of peaceful development, pursue mutually beneficial opening up, and resolutely uphold multilateralism and international system built around the UN. Will participate actively in reforming and improving the global governance system and firmly uphold an open world economy to build a human community with a shared future. Will strengthen communication, dialogue, coordination, and cooperation with other major countries. Will deepen relations with our neighbors and expand mutually beneficial cooperation with other developing countries. We will actively offer constructive Chinese approaches for responding appropriately to global challenges and flashpoints in some regions. China stands ready to work together with all other countries to make new contributions in promoting enduring world peace and shared prosperity. Fellow deputies, struggle creates history. Hard work makes a bright future. We will rally closer around the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, hold high the banner of socialism with Chinese characteristics, follow the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, rise up to each challenge and create new progress. We'll commemorate the 70th anniversary of the founding of PRC with great achievements in economic and social development. Let us continue our struggle to secure a decisive victory in building a moderately prosperous society in all respects to achieve the great success of socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, to build China into a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful, and to realize the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation.
That's Chinese Premier Li Keqiang give his work report, the annual work report on behalf of the Chinese government. Well, in a nutshell, he revealed the progress made in 2018 about China's social and economic development. China achieved 6.6% economic growth and maintained the inflation rate of 2.1% and also employed 13 million people. There was a message of steadiness. China will maintain macroeconomic control to prevent risks from happening. They were stepping up. For example, China vowed to keep its growth rate at a range between 6 and 6.5%.
Right.
And also Chinese government vowed to increase spending, more bonds from the local government, invest in infrastructure. And there's also rolling back, that is the reduction of taxes on businesses and individuals, give more room for businesses to make their operations. So joining us here in the studio at NR Tangen and Xu Qingduo for some analysis of the work report.
Right, and after listening to this government work report, it is the very important part of the NPC session indeed, and it is kind of shorter than the one last year, but it didn't miss anything, of course. So what's your general impression of this year's government work report? Did it address any of your major concerns?
I would say I would like to borrow the words from the report by the Premier, that is ambitious, yet at the same time realistic. For example, the government is to deal with issues on multi fronts. For example, you want to maintain economic growth at a stable level, 6 to 6.5% economic growth. Given the strong track record of the Chinese economic growth and proven ability of the Chinese government, there's no doubt they will achieve this goal for 2019. At the same time, you want to reduce pollution. While economic is growing, you want to reduce pollution, you want to reduce poverty. So on multi fronts, you're dealing with all the issues. So this requires sophisticated skills, sophisticated policy making. And this is very impressive. I would say that's the most impressive part I have of the report.
I know. What about you?
Well, I mean, comprehensive. I mean, if you're looking for drama, turn to Donald Trump and some tweets. This is exactly what you expect. It's comprehensive. They put out a report card, 65 indicators that show where they are. And unlike in the U.S., where you have a State of the Union address, there's really no marking on it. There's no saying, oh, you achieved this, you didn't achieve this, you overachieved that. Well, for China, they either achieved or overachieved on 62 of the 65. That's an amazing amount. And the other thing that really strikes me, just pulling back for a second, is that with China, it's all about development. He said, look, the key to the future is development. Right. If you switch back and compare that to the U.S., where you have Donald Trump and his basically saying it's about ideology, embrace of liberal democratic capitalism, all this type of things. So, this is a 180-degree turn from 50 years ago, where China was accused of saying it's all about ideology, and the U.S. was saying, oh no, it's all about development. So it's curious how we have come so far and so quickly. That you've seen a complete reversal.
We'll be getting back to you, gentlemen, for a detailed, maybe break the report down in a little bit details in our limited time, of course, later on. Well, having reviewed the progress of the previous year, actually, Premier Li, in his government work report, gave the China's goal